but definitely once a month. I do
Well,
want you
it's
to
better
do that.
than it was last month. Oh, last month was
Yeah,
murder.
that's
Oh
Black
my
History.
God. I never,
Oh, this
I
is,
never, I never had a Black History month like last month. It was murder,
but this
but
is
in a good way, a
a
good
good
way.
way. But you said on Women's Month, this is Women's History Month. You really don't get much
Yes.
requests. But can you your highlight a woman that for that you admire for this Women's History Month?
Oh my goodness. That's a hard question because there's so many women I admire. You know, from the very first activity I was involved in for social justice when I was a high school student, I saw the important role that women played in the struggle. Like women have been the backbone of every organization that I've been in. Now, that's not to say that men haven't been there and played their role, but the women make stuff happen, you know. And see, the easy answer would be for me to say my mother. But if I say my mother, everybody says their mother. But in terms of a woman who is a freedom fighter that I greatly admire, I would say Sister Betty Shabazz, the wife of Malcolm X. You know, people probably don't know this, but she used to come. We used to have, from the time our organization was founded, we observed the birthday of Malcolm X. We had our first kind of citywide Malcolm X commemoration, and that was in 1989. And she came every year after that to the commemorations that we held. And the reason I say Sister Betty Shabazz, I mean, I could say a whole lot of people, but, you know, we just passed the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm. And Sister Betty, and the assassination of both Dr. King and Malcolm were both great tragedies, and both their families were affected. But objectively, I would have to say that probably Dr. King's family got more support. Now, that's not to say one situation was worse, but I think anybody objectively would say that it was true that Dr. King's family was embraced,
Yeah.
you know, by a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
Betty Shabazz didn't have that because Malcolm X was not seen in the same light as Martin Luther King. And Sister Betty had to struggle to raise all them children herself, put herself back through college. You know, at the time of her death, she was Dr. Betty Shabazz with a real Ph.D., not an honorary Ph.D. She was Dr. Betty Shabazz. She raised her children, and she continued despite all the danger. Remember, Malcolm was killed. And Malcolm, unfortunately, was killed by the people that pulled the trigger. Their hands was black. Now, they may have been manipulated by the FBI and the CIA and other intelligence agencies, white-dominated agencies, but the hands that pulled the trigger, that shot Malcolm X 17 times, those were black hands. And they tried to bomb Malcolm. They didn't try, they bombed Malcolm's house when Sister Betty and the children were in the house. So she had to live under the threat of danger after Malcolm's assassination. But she made a way out of no way. She raised her family. She got her education. She became a respected educator and continued to be a voice for Black liberation. And I think that's a sterling, sterling achievement, you know. And I say the same for Coretta Scott King. She did the same thing. And I uphold Coretta Scott King also. But objectively speaking, Sister Betty was out there almost by herself. If it hadn't been for Percy Sutton and some of the other Black folk that supported Malcolm in New York City, they would have perished. They would have perished. They all the girls, you know, achieved, you know, and did wonderful and doing wonderful things. The Audubon Ballroom, where Malcolm was assassinated, is now the Betty Shabazz Malcolm X Center.
Right.
Because
I
their
saw
daughters.
the ceremony, lovely ceremony they had recently
That's
for
right.
the assassination
So so
anniversary.
I salute today. I salute sister. There are a million sisters I could salute, but this day on this question that you just asked me, I salute Sister Betty Shabazz because she was able to keep on keeping on after the assassination of her husband, was successful, raised the children. She was personally successful. She was an administrator over at Medgar Evers College, I believe. And, she used to call me. She used to call me at work. She'd be like, because one time, most of the years that we had the Malcolm X celebration, we'd always get a good turnout. But one year, we didn't get a good turnout. And she came to me. She called me at work. She said, Brother Larry, you working on this celebration? You gonna have a better turnout than you had last year? I said, yes, ma'am. I bet you the people I was working for had no idea that I was talking to the wife of Malcolm X on the telephone, But she was a wonderful, wonderful lady. She, I guess the accident that happened to her occurred 2 weeks after she spoke for us. We had a program at the Donald Tucker Center on Elizabeth Avenue in Newark. And it was a great turnout, huge crowd packed, came out to hear her speak. And then 2 weeks later, the accident, the fire occurred and she died, some days after that. And, it was a great loss for all of us, but she was a great lady.
Thank you to Inversion FM. The Republicans got over the civil rights bill. The Democrats from the South didn't want anything good for them. Thank you so much for your super chat. And Prometheus Forever, thank you so much for your super chat. Also, the book that you posted, Where Do We Go From Here? I think everyone, do I have that book? I think I did. I didn't. If I do, I haven't read it yet. No, I do have that book.
Yes.
That book is very important because that book, he does detail the economic.
Yes, he does.
The necessity for the economic empowerment that we need.
Yes, he does. Mm-hmm.
Juke joint. Stu fell for the okie doke. They are using our people tragedy in this country in order to promote that which should not be promoted. What? No, he didn't fall for no okie doke because he's very knowledgeable. But everybody, what is that? Randall Robinson, the debt, what America owes to blacks. Oh, let me write that down. Okay, I have to get that book.
This is on This was the first book on reparations. Well, the first contemporary book on reparations. We've been writing about reparations since the 1800s. So, but this book by Randall Robinson really kicked off the contemporary reparations movement. And I believe
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.